Bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about
comic books, costumes,
Facts. Boots.
and other stuff.
In this week's issue, Ulysses Solomon Archer.
Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I am Zach, joined by the James Gordon to my corrupt Gotham City Police Department,
Man,
Mr. Mike.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason we're going to go down that road
Am I
is
the lone good guy in that corrupt?
you are
department?
the lone good guy in this
Wow.
one, and that is kind of what we're getting into because today's story, I talked about it last week, of what we're going to do is Batman Year One.
Yeah.
Now, just to kind of set up what Year One is basically around, I want to say 1987, I think is when it was. DC basically thought, you know what, we need to not necessarily redo, but just revamp like origins of our characters just to bring in new people.
Right.
They did it with Superman, they did it with Wonder Woman, and they did it with Batman. And that's what Batman Year One is.
Right.
Now, Frank Miller, which we've talked about, how he can cover both sides of the spectrum of being really good and also being really terrible.
Yes, the yellow Batman.
Yeah. This is a year after The Dark Knight Returns.
Okay.
So he stepped up. He and David Mazzucchelli.
You're talking story and art wise. This is a year after.
Yes, this is 1 year after
not in time.
not
Gotcha.
canonically, not in the Batman universe, in our actual world.
Every time somebody says canonically, I always think of like crabs and stuff. I don't know why that is.
I always think of the video game company Konami.
Yeah.
I don't know why either, because
Now I'm going to think of crabs playing video games. That's great. Okay.
I don't remember what they played. Maybe Metal Slug. Was that a Konami game?
Canonically sounds like something you'd say in The Little Mermaid.
A little bit. Yeah, no, I get that.
Oh, it's canonically.
But basically, Frank Miller then and David Mazzucchelli stepped up and said, hey, we want to do the Batman book.
Yeah.
Also throw out Richmond Lewis, who I believe is the color guy for this. But what we have then is it's supposed to be kind of like a revamping of Batman's origin story.
Got it.
The good news is we don't have to go through, there are panels in here of Bruce dealing with dead parents,
Right.
but we're not retelling the whole story here.
Okay.
What they've done, which I think is very smart, is it focuses on basically, it's called Year One because it takes place during one calendar year.
And this is a much younger Batman.
This
right?
is Batman coming back from being a recluse and being gone for 18 years.
Oh.
Like, when Batman Begins, basically Christopher Nolan took some from this for Batman Begins with, I can't think of Patrick Bateman, Christian Bale. There we go.
Christian Bale.
I had to think of his name for a second. But take some of this for Batman Begins, takes from Batman Year One in a sense of it's Bruce Wayne returning back to Gotham after like 18 years of being gone.
Gotcha.
But this story is told hand in hand with Jim Gordon's story.
So this is not a younger Batman.
It's a younger Batman in a sense of he's not Batman yet.
He
has just returned back to Gotham City.
All right, so dead parents, leaves Gotham City.
Now comes back 18 years
to do
later.
Something about it.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
we're looking at a 21 to 25-year-old Batman.
Again,
here.
if you haven't read anything comic-wise and all you've ever done is seen the movies, just think about Batman Begins and Christian Bale coming back.
Right.
He goes into like the seedy part of Gotham.
Yeah.
And tries to, talk to Carmine Falcone or Falcone, however you want to. By the way, also the first appearances for Mr. Falcone is in this here too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So, basically you can relate it to that. What this story does though, it's a 4-issue run and actually ran through the Batman name. So it wasn't like they set it out special. It was just 4 issues within the Batman run. And then they went back to where they were. Yeah. And so they grouped it together. And this ended up leading off to Year 2 in 1988 and Year 3 in 1989.
Okay.
So it also spawned.
Are those done by Miller also?
No. This is the only one that Miller and Mazzucchelli do.
Okay.
It's one of those where it's like, oh, it's, smart enough. And then they got another writer where they kind of continued it.
So they kind of built their own franchise.
Exactly.
Here and then turned it over to a different director.
Yeah. And this is, I think we've said it before, but canonically, supposed to be in the same world as Dark Knight Returns. So basically Miller has written like the beginning of Batman and the end of his Batman. And so then tons of stuff take place in this universe that he's created. Long Halloween is basically follow this. So like everything from like 88 to the New 52.
So Miller said, I'm going to set up my own Batman universe.
And a lot of people, and a lot of writers then stayed within that universe for everything afterwards. Sure. But our story.
Dark Knight Returns, where do you, 1 out of 10?
10.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah, so well done.
I will say, and we'll get to it at the end of this issue, I do think I can see where they might be going with the movie because Matt Reeves, who's the director, has come out and said that this is more kind of like the second year of Batman is what we're dealing with in the movie.
Right.
Well, after reading the synopsis of year 2, it could be interesting. Not that they're going to be connected, but there could be things pulled from just inspiration. But let's get into year 1 because this is going to sound weird as Batman is obviously featured on the front and it is called Batman Year 1. Right. I would classify this as half a Batman story, half a Jim Gordon story.
Okay.
What I look at Batman Year 1 and what it's done is it has created or it sets up the relationship between Gordon and Batman.
Right.
So both men are arriving to Gotham at the same time. James Gordon is arriving on train. His wife's flying in. He has now just accepted this job as a Gotham cop. It's not Lieutenant Gordon. It's not Commissioner Gordon. I'm sorry, it is Lieutenant Gordon. He's not the commissioner yet, but he's just a regular cop on the staff.
Okay.
And Bruce Wayne has come back to Gotham he knows...
Settle the score.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming back to clean up Gotham.
Okay.
In his sense.
All right.
But he doesn't know how. Like there's a lot early in the first part of the story where he's just kind of out like just doing reconnaissance in a way. Like he doesn't know when the right time for him to start is.
Right, sure.
There is a scene.
Right bat time, right bat.
Bat channel, yeah. But there is a scene where he's trying to figure out what am I waiting on? I don't know, how to intimidate these people. And a bat breaks through his window, lands on the statue of his dad. And he's like, oh, bats.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thanks, universe.
Yeah. Some of it with Batman was, I get where we're telling the story. But again, to me, this was more about Commissioner Gordon. Because when he gets there, he's obviously the only straight-laced cop in a department full of just everybody on the take.
Gotcha. Okay.
And over time, basically what this story does, there's not a big bad guy.
I guess they pulled that into Gotham whenever that series was on too. That was kind of the same thing.
It's the same. Yeah. There's a lot of there because basically through the whole year.
I guess that's really just the Batman story though, right?
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah, for all of it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But what we see throughout this book, there's no big bad guy. I guess Carmine Falcone kind of is.
Right. And it makes sense that mob type stuff would be the first one you go after.
Exactly. And that's why it makes sense kind of for the first part of Batman Begins because he does deal with that.
Right.
But then also they bring in Ra's al Ghul. But not in here. I was talking about Batman Begins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, there's nothing to get. Yeah. Selena Kyle makes an appearance. We see that she starts to be Catwoman around the same time that Bruce becomes Batman. She gets upset. She has some small parts, but basically she goes to try to steal from the police commissioner.
Okay.
And the news just reports it as, the police commissioner is Batman's new target.
Okay.
So she's frustrated by that.
Gotcha.
She goes to attack Carmine Falcone because he's got to have jewels and stuff to steal. Right. And she's immediately called like Batman's assistant. Oh. You just get this whole where she's trying to do her own thing and everybody for some reason attributes her that she's just trying to be a Batman knockoff.
You do kind of feel bad for Catwoman a lot. Just because she's like an anti-hero almost.
In a sense, but here's the problem with anti-heroes is everybody wants to do them now because they think they're cool.
Yeah.
And all you have is a bunch of anti-heroes and no actual heroes.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Because I had this conversation. I mean, we might have had this conversation last week on the show too. I feel like we did a little
really
bit.
two anti-heroes also here.
It is.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, because Batman honestly is an anti-hero.
yeah. No,
Unless
Jim. To me,
it's cartoons or something, then he's all American like Superman.
to me, at least in this book and in a lot of there's some other Batman stuff. Commissioner Gordon is the only straight, true,
Right.
good character.
Right.
He never changes. I say
Okay.
that except he does cheat on his wife.
Everybody's got a thing.
Everybody's got something.
Yeah.
So he does have some moral issues.
Okay.
He owns up to them and he tries to, because again, at the end of the day, James Gordon always tries to do the right thing. That is a character, at least in the comics. I mean, I'm sure there's an offshoot here or there that I'm not thinking of.
Sure.
But for the most part, James Gordon is always good.
This really has nothing to do with,
that's
where
fine.
you're at. But if you look on the back of that book, there's several reviews. I'd like for you to read the second one.
Do you want me to say where it's from first?
I want you to read the review and then say where it's
Okay.
from.
This is a story no true Batman fan should be able to resist.
Right. From
The School Library Journal. Does it sound like they were just like, oh, somebody wrote this in their journal they left in the library?
like one of them's from the Miami.
Yeah, there's a
Press
Miami
or whatever.
Herald,
Yeah,
LA
Herald.
Times book
Yeah.
reviews, and then even Denny O'Neil, who's like famous in the comic industry.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, School Library Journal.
Library Journal. This was at a what do you call those things where they bring the books to you?
Oh, the book fairs?
This was at a book fair.
It was a Scholastic book fair. And they're like, hey.
Hey, this book's good, says 9-year-old Jeff.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, at least I knew know it was Jeff, and I could be like, oh, okay, I agree with Jeff or not.
Well, Jeff's grown up.
So basically, they arrive at the same time.
Okay.
Batman's doing all this, trying to figure out what he wants to be, while James Gordon is dealing firsthand with, he's running into opposition from all the other cops.
Okay. Sure. I mean, why wouldn't he?
Exactly, because he's the only straight-laced one. They're not. Basically, the other cops wait till he's on a night shift and come through masked and just beat the mess out of him with baseball bats.
Didn't that happen in Gotham also? Like, doesn't what's-his-face get the crap beat out of him?
I think he does. It's been so long since I've watched Gotham. Here's the thing, though. It's from very early on in the book, though.
Yeah.
Or not in the book, in the comic. While he's first met, he is told, basically, while they're beating him up and stuff, one of the guys calls him Jimmy. And he knows that it's this other detective.
Right. He knows who it is at that point.
Basically, because he's calling him.
That feeds into what I was going to say. It's crazy to me in all of these stories how brazen all of the cops usually are. I mean, it's like they'll literally take $1 from a guy out on the street in the middle of a investigation.
Yeah, they don't care. And that's the thing. It's like, new guy in my car, and he immediately stops and goes, like, beats up a group of kids there with him.
Yeah.
And there's never a point, like, I guess I know what he's going for, but it's just so hard to process that crime is so rampant that, hold on real quick. I know you're new here, but just stay here while I get out of the car and check something. Watch me beat up these kids and then just get back in and just like, I thought that you'd be cool with that.
Right.
Like,
right. Yeah, they're just, like I said, just so brazen.
Yeah. So
it's like, federales and Chicago cops and you always hear of these cops that they're real rough on you until they get a bribe and then they're your best friend or whatever.
Yeah,
Canadian Mounted Police, I think, heard that.
Yeah, one. Dudley Do-Right was one for sure. But just so I don't drag us all down, basically, Gordon goes back and ends up beating up the cop who like they treat Gordon like they show you. He's just as tough.
He's kind of a badass in this, right?
Yeah, no, he is. And it's funny because there's a scene, they also turned it into a short animated film because it's only 4 issues, so it's only an hour long.
Right.
But, and I watched that as well when doing this. And the funny thing is the voice of Batman is played by Ben, what's his name from Gordon? The guy who plays
Dover.
Gordon in, the guy who plays Gordon in Gotham.
Oh, really?
Ben,
I don't know.
you know what I'm talking about, the blonde-haired guy from the OC,
Yeah.
and I can't think of his name right now, and I'm sorry, but he voices Batman in this. Bryan Cranston voices James Gordon.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's a nice little cast for the actual movie too. But Gordon basically single-handedly goes in and he's screwing up everything the cops have going. Batman's learning how to become Batman. He's, attacking street drug users and finding his way up.
Right.
They both kind of find their way to Falcone to realize that he's pulling all the strings and all this.
I'm Batman.
But Falcone, it's just, I can't remember. It's Carmine Falcone. I don't know why I keep saying Falcone. I'm pretty sure it's Carmine Falcone.
I think I've heard somebody
both
in
of
one
them say it
Batman
both
thing
ways.
say Falcone. Yeah.
So it just feels like I'm saying it wrong.
Who cares?
Either way.
It's not even a real guy.
The Roman. His nickname's the Roman.
The Roman.
There we go. So the Roman, who is the main mob boss in Long Halloween. So,
okay. All right.
Yeah, so he gets his time around there. Basically, puts a hit in a sense on like we got to fix James Gordon. His wife and he had just had a baby. They kidnapped the baby. And the wife, and basically it leads to a big final brawl with Batman and James Gordon, and Batman helps save. Not between the two. I'm just saying with
Batman
both of
and
them.
the baby.
Yeah, but basically the baby is almost thrown from gets thrown off the river kind of thing. I'm sorry, off the bridge into the river.
Right.
Batman, dives down to kind of save it in a way. I'm trying to find the.
Does he save the baby?
Nope, never does. Here it is. They
For real?
fall off. He does.
Oh, okay.
So they wrestle off.
geez,
I just had to
that's
find
dark.
the panel.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
He wrestles off the bridge with the main bad guy, and Bruce reaches in and grabs the baby, and they both, and he saves it as he lands, and he hands him to him.
The baby is very muddy.
Yeah, well, everybody's muddy because they land in the water below.
Okay.
And there's this, and he hands him over. That's the bad guy.
Okay.
That's one of Carmine Falcone's nephews or whatever.
Sure.
But so Bruce hands James his son back.
Right.
And he's holding him, and they're both standing there. And the sun is kind of like rising behind Bruce anyway, so it's kind of hard to see his face.
Sure.
But then Gordon also says, and for instance, I can't see a damn thing without my glasses. So, like, it's Bruce without a mask. Like,
right.
He's there.
So he doesn't really know.
He doesn't know, but Gordon knows in the process that obviously the guy who saved him is like, he's had a little bit of run-ins with Batman at the time, so he kind of knows.
Okay.
And so they just have this kind of like, he helped save my son, I can trust Batman kind of thing. And that's the last panel of this comic.
Because at this point, Batman, the city still doesn't know what to think of.
No, and that's the thing. It's
cops certainly don't know what to think of him.
And everybody is against him, and they're hunting him down. Detective Flass, which is the one that beats him up, that he's trying to create a case against the entire time to be like, hey, this is a dirty cop, gets attacked by Batman because he's around, like, he's dealing with some of the drug dealers and stuff.
Okay.
And so, like, and Flass is talking about, like, no, he's an animal. Like, they don't know what myth, whatever.
Right, sure.
But after saving his son, Gordon realizes, hey, I can trust Batman. So that's where that kind of trust then develops.
So the introduction in this is done by Danny O'Neill.
Is it really? I usually skip introductions. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
But basically it's year one is the story in a sense of just wrapping it all up. You can read through. There's obviously a lot more into there. It's a Frank Miller book. So Mike's flipping through it and he can tell you it's dense, just like every Frank Miller written thing is. But it's a solid story of, to me, the relationship between Batman and Jim Gordon.
They have to like really, really stock up on black ink when they do these, because, man, so many shadows. But
it looks, I like the way it looks.
Oh, yeah. No, it's beautiful.
It's a gorgeous book by Batman Year One, but it's a story, again, all the same, of the first year in Gotham for both Batman and for Jim Gordon. And we see the characters grow and they learn about Gotham kind of together and they form that relationship together. Now, I covered that because when we're going to talk about the movie a little bit here, which comes out in I think like 54 days or something, Mike. So I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's like a midnight showing that I can go to when it comes out. Like I am more stoked for this than I was for Spider-Man.
Huh.
It's always been like everybody has their favorite characters.
Yeah.
And mine has always been Batman.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
you.
you're fine.
It always kills me when a character has a single bandage around their head, like that's doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, it just looks like a what do you call it? Headband, like a workout headband or something.
Well, he's probably like, if they moved it, my head would fall off.
Yeah, that's right. Like the top of my head's just going to come completely off. All right. So I'm very excited for this Batman. Also, the more I see, like we were talking about before, the pictures and stuff, man, these guys, I think they've made a very dark and scary movie out of Batman.
Yeah,
which is unique because we haven't had that really.
No, and I
mean, Christian Bale stuff, it's dark, but it's not frightening. It's not edge of your seat type stuff.
Well, here's
still more action.
Exactly. The one thing that the first thought I had when I saw the first Batman trailer was that scene where it's Riddler and you just see him for a little bit, like stretch out the duct tape.
Right.
And it reminded me very much so of like a scene from the trailer for, I think it was Into the Spiderweb, not Into the Spiderweb. What was
Into
it?
the Spider-Verse?
No. It was from like the girl with the dragon. It looked like a girl with a dragon tattoo trailer.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like it was one of those like
gritty,
I'm out. Yeah.
Dirty.
Yeah.
Dark.
It was the new one that Claire Foy was in, but still, so it has a very similar kind of feel, like just a dirty, gritty kind of feel to it. And
I'm super stoked about it.
I love that. Oh, also just real quick on the comic. So the final page is basically just like a Jim Gordon basically narrates like how everything is. Like basically the commissioner's gone. He has a new friend now. And it closes with, though, he was like, we've gotten a call from some lunatic basically that he's going to poison the Gotham City water reserve, calls himself the Joker. Good news is I have a friend to help that should be here any minute.
Yeah, that's so cool. You know? Yeah.
So they set that up.
That's really awesome.
When you were on that page.
Yeah.
So.
And then what you brought in was not 4 issues. You brought in basically the
yeah, they put it together as a book.
Right, the book version. And what's so cool about this is in the back.
I always love how they add the extra
tons of sketches and just uncolored things. I don't really understand what's going on here with this tiny little Batmite, but okay.
Yeah, I don't. Some of it I think is older stuff, or
it's definitely.
I don't know, but there's like a lot of sketches and stuff and all that. Batmite was a weird character, but it does have the good old, old school Batman where his ears kind of.
Sure. This is the one I love the most. It looks like it was drawn by a 6-year-old.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah.
I don't know who's.
Oh, it says Batman Comics 1966 above my first comic page. I'm assuming that's Frank Miller's first one.
No, I think it might be David. I can't.
Oh, the other guy. David
Majewski. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. They include some of their first art back there, which is
cool,
always
though.
really cool to see too. To know that, hey, the guys who make this incredibly beautiful art could draw the same way I did when I was 6.
Can you even imagine though, being a little kid and growing up, and then you get to do what you planned on doing when you were a kid? How many of us can say that? I mean, if you planned on drawing Batman as a kid and you grew up and you get to draw Batman as a freaking job.
Yeah.
What a great life.
No, I did it for a little bit.
Did you?
I didn't draw
the
Batman.
Sports stuff. Yeah, I guess so.
No, I don't know if I ever told this story, and it has nothing to do with this. Maybe some people will be interested in it. I lived with my grandparents for a little bit growing up, and they had, obviously, because we're older, so you kids that are 20 and younger, a video camera.
A, they're not listening.
B, you're not listening. You're probably listening to something cool and hip. But my grandmother had a video camera because remember you actually had to have the cassettes and stuff you load on the side. Yeah,
had to jack it up on your shoulder.
Yeah, well, it was a smaller one.
Okay.
Thankfully, but it had the like VHS tape where you had to put the smaller tape in and then put it in.
VHS-C.
Yeah, but so I would set that on the counter in their kitchen. And I would make fake sports reports.
Oh, that's cool.
And I would record myself, and then I would make them watch it.
I would record stuff off the radio, and then I would be the DJ.
That's really cool too.
My dad found the tapes, and I was cursing a lot, and I got in very big trouble.
Did you not realize that the FCC wouldn't let you?
I did not have an idea of what the FCC was meant or.
Well, here's what I want to. How old were you? Are you like a 4-year-old just cursing your head off?
Yeah, 3.5. One of my first words. F. No, I don't know. 11, 12, probably something like that. Only
cool,
child,
though.
lots of time on my hands.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I would make.
I think that's when they sent me to private school.
I would make mix cassettes out of. Because you had to wait and you hit the, play, pause, and record, and then wait for the, and you hit the pause button.
Oh, yeah.
I would listen to my Walkman on the way to school. That was at least through junior high.
Cassette mixing was a real art.
Oh, it was. Because if not, you could get stuff. I remember I'd mess up and I'd have like the first part of songs I didn't care.
When I got that double tape deck, oh my goodness. Yeah, that changed the game for me.
I had a boombox that had it in the front. That was nice.
There you go. Yeah.
But so...
Year 1, boombox.
So Batman Year 1 then leads into Year 2. And I'm going to briefly tell you about Year 2. I didn't read it, but I found a synopsis of it because I feel like there could be stuff just taken from, not directly.
Before you do that, tell me about Matt Reeves. What else has he done?
Planet of the Apes movies.
Ah, okay. All right. Okay, I trust him.
The new ones. Yeah.
I trust him. Yep.
Yeah, those have been actually really good.
Yep.
So in Year 2, I think a new villain appears called the Reaper.
Okay.
And basically the Reaper is kind of too much for Batman. And so he knows it. So he realizes he has to get better. He ends up recruiting or needing help from the Gotham street gangs to help him fight Reaper. And so he kind of develops a relationship with them and even gets the help of Joe Chill. Who is the guy who killed his parents.
Oh, wow.
Gets his help to help him fight the Reaper, but even with the help of the Gotham street gangs is unable to.
Oh, my. And what is the Reaper's power? Why is he so...
I was just trying to look into it. Okay. But basically, then I'm looking at Batman Year 2.
Sure.
So I can tell you exactly.
The Reaper, all I can think is he's got a sickle, and he's walking around talking about corn.
I thought that was Scarecrow.
Well, I mean, he's reaping though, right? Isn't that what a reaper does?
Yeah, but it's also could be like the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, come on. The first one's called Fear the Reaper. So
okay.
They're going for straight blue oyster cult on this.
Let's see. It says
elements of the story were incorporated into the Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
He's scary looking. He's got a skull for a head.
Yeah. So he's
red suit, a sword. His real name. Judson Caspian. And then it's also been Joe Chill Jr.
Oh.
Spiked leather armor, scythe-shaped weapons with hidden firearms.
Interesting. So
he's a socialite by day and a vigilante by night. After losing his wife to a robber in the streets, he becomes the Reaper, who prowled Gotham City during the 1950s, murdering juvenile delinquents by impaling them with a scythe.
What a
guy.
But hear me out. So I read all that.
Sure.
And I'm just guessing. We have a Riddler who is obviously trying to, in his mind, I think, do what is right. Because just looking at the trailers, he is trying to expose Gotham and what's, the wrong in Gotham.
Yeah. But through a series of riddles for some reason.
Well, in a way, though, but I feel like this could be a way where maybe we get more of a Riddler who obviously is smart enough and is very tech savvy and has he has the usual Riddler things. But I wonder if we make it to where he also feels like, he's a vigilante in his own right, of where he's helping to clean up Gotham by taking out.
Yeah.
But it's like
Right.
So I could see a scene.
Do you see Penguin as part of the problem? Like
maybe. I don't think Penguin's going to be in it a whole lot because they're making an HBO Max series with him in it.
Oh, really?
Very much so, like Peacemaker.
About the Penguin?
Yeah, like Colin. Ooh. Yeah, like Colin.
Colin Firth.
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell Firth.
Yeah, because Colin Firth is King's Speech. Colin Farrell is Colin Farrell.
That would be a very different movie.
It would
if he played the Penguin.
I think he could pull it off still probably because Colin Firth is a good actor. But yeah, no, Colin Farrell signed on to be like a Penguin centric.
Oh, that's
show.
cool. Yeah.
So I don't expect him to be like he'll be in it, but I don't expect him to be like a big kind of thing. I wonder if it's going to be kind of like Year Two, where because we see scenes where Batman's battling like. The street gangs there for a second, but then there's also a scene in the trailer where he has like a flare and they're all following him. So I wonder if Batman Year 2, and this is just me putting speculation out there and I'll probably never bring it up again. And when you see it in 2 months and you'd be like, oh, just remember where you heard it, that maybe Rob Pattinson feels a bit outnumbered against the Riddler, and he has to use in the same way in Year 2, he has to try to use some of the evil that he's gone against to try to help, kind of like, the lesser of two evils in a sense.
I love that. That. Yeah, because the thing about Batman and to a lesser extent some other superheroes, they've done a pretty good job of it with Iron Man in the movies. Comic books to begin with, then the movies. Nothing is black or white. It's everything is a shade of gray. But
I feel like that's how it is.
Well, it's just the
real
human
world
condition.
too.
Yeah. But to put that on superheroes kind of enhances that whole thing, and makes them really stand out when they're bad and really stand out when they're good.
Oh, for sure. I heard. I'll close it out with this because I heard 2 things this week that I thought were funny. One was they're both
the whole week. There were 2 things.
There's just 2 things.
That's it. Yeah.
It was sad the rest of the week.
of it was just depressing.
But those other 2 things I heard were no. It was just a collection of like different like Hollywood facts in a sense of just like things that happen that you may or may not know.
Right. Sure.
Like one was Chris Evans wore fake feet in the scene in Captain America: First Avengers where he runs out barefooted to realize that he's,
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's wearing fake feet there.
Feet.
Yeah, they have a picture of it and stuff, but there's things like that. Like, I don't...
I'd love to see his big floppy fake feet.
Well, they weren't. Like, they're super close to him, but there's just, like a lot of funny stories like that. Yeah, basically how...
Clown shoes.
Paul Bettany had, like... They tell the story of, like, Paul Bettany had a lunch with some, like, TV producer or just some agent kind of basically told him, dude, your career's done. Like you're just over. Yeah. And he left the dinner the lunch just feeling so defeated. And he immediately got a call as he was leaving from Kevin Feige being like, hey, do you want to play Vision?
Oh, wow.
And he was like, stuff like that.
That's cool.
So yeah, they're really cool. But there were 2 about Rob Pattinson and both of them were directly related to Christopher Nolan. One is Batman.
He just smells like Axe all the time?
Who? Christopher Nolan?
No.
Rob Pattinson? No.
Yeah. You don't think he just smells like Axe?
Okay. I think he smells like patchouli, if anything.
Okay.
I mean, look at him as that's kind of mean.
Sure.
But look at him as Bruce Wayne.
Why is it mean to say he smells like patchouli?
No, he just looks like a guy.
Yeah, I mean, he smells like patchouli.
He smells like patchouli.
Good job, Rob.
Yeah, no, I think here's the thing, is everybody, and I have a buddy of mine, that Matt and I have talked about this a lot, I think back to when everybody was talking about the Dark Knight Returns, and everybody was like, oh, the guy from A Knight's Tale is going to play Joker. How's he going to be as good as Jack Nicholson?
Yeah.
Remember? And everybody hated on Heath Ledger.
Oh, yeah.
And then it happened. And they're like, oh, he was great. And then unfortunately he passed away. And then it was like
to ever replace that.
Yeah. But up until that movie came out, they were crapping all over him.
Well, same deal with Keaton whenever he first played Batman.
So, I mean, you know what? They can, and everybody that I talked to is like, well, it's a mix. It's like, I'll go see it. Right. I'm not that interested in it. Oh, the guy from Twilight's going to play Batman?
Right.
Sparkly Batman.
I've gotten over that. That's what I first thought, but I've gotten over it.
Go watch anything else he's been in since then. The Lighthouse with him and Willem Dafoe is really good. He's played in he's done a lot. And I think that he could knock this out of the park. There's so many small things in this movie though, too, that I love the fact that there's a scene with him and he has the black still around his eyes, because up until that point, apparently, I guess the black makeup just stays as part of the cowl because none of the other Batman have ever had it.
Yeah.
It's just small things like that I can see him as a young Bruce Wayne. And I think that's the part of it too, is we can't have somebody, I guess you could find somebody that was a little bigger and a little muscular, but Ben Affleck's not going to work. He doesn't fit for young Bruce Wayne. Like Michael Keaton, no, he's too old. Like you can't bring anybody back because they're not going to appear young.
Sure.
And then who could you play or who would you pick that would do it that isn't in something else already?
Peter Dinklage.
I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to.
You were going to say Batmite.
I was going to. By the way, I love Peter Dinklage as an actor too.
Is the best.
But I mean,
he's got one called The Station. It's about a train station that it's a train depot, like just a single room thing that he manages. Station manager, something like that.
Good,
really good movie. Yeah,
okay.
Drama.
Okay,
it's all about his life and just how lonely he is and stuff like that. It's just good.
Sounds like a movie to watch with the family for sure.
Oh yeah, the kids love it.
Yeah. But I mean, like, who realistically, like,
Daddy, why does he cry all the time?
You couldn't get like a Chris Pratt or a Chris Hemsworth or any, because you have to think of all the people that are gone because
doing it. Yeah.
So, but the two things I was going to say is he said that, and from this, the Twitter account that I was following about these Hollywood facts, is he did say that there were multiple times during like a 2 or 3 month span when he was filming Tenet with Christopher Nolan that he had no clue what the movie was about.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
Yeah, he was just like, it was like,
I do not doubt that one bit.
Which I found funny, but my favorite one was also while he was filming Tenet, he was afraid to tell Christopher Nolan that he was auditioning for Batman.
Really?
Because, Nolan has the...
Yeah, sure.
So he goes, I went up to him and I told him that I had a family emergency to deal with. He was like, hey, I got a family emergency. I'm going to need to leave for a little bit and go deal with it and come back. Yeah. And he said, Nolan looked at him and went, family emergency, huh? And he goes, yeah. You're going to audition for Batman, aren't you? Like Nolan knew.
Yeah.
And so that was just kind of funny there too.
That's awesome, though. Yeah. I mean, I don't see Christopher Nolan.
No, I don't think he can. Well, it's
blackball somebody over
playful. It's a playful banter because one of the, I guess, guys who's worked on the new movie, just like bumped into him and was like, "Hey, you better be ready. We're coming because we're going to be better than your Batman." Like it's a playful kind of, which is fun, I think. Yeah, in a sense. Yeah. I'm stoked for it. I think Paul Dano as Riddler is going to be awesome. I think we're going to have a super scary, and I think that's the way to go, is if you can create somebody who's like the Joker, right, without using the Joker. Now
that you've shown me this and talked about year 2, I'm just sitting here thinking about the preview, and boy, you're absolutely right. It fits right in there.
It does kind of, and and again, it's the Reaper. I have a feeling more than anything that, good, in my opinion, good comic book scripts and stuff, they go in and they are able to borrow a lot from like epic parts in comics, but change it up enough to where it fits for what's going on. So it could be just that, like, hey, fanboys, here's a nod to something you know and love, and we're still making it work in our story too.
Well, Iron Man, you couldn't have him be drunk all the time, and that kind of thing as far as movies go.
I mean, you could, but it just wasn't going to be as...
I mean, he had a drink in his hand a lot of the times, and then he kind of fought it throughout, what was it, Iron Man 2 or 3?
Yeah.
And then, but it wasn't as big a deal as it was in the comics.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure, because in the comics, he just like kind of retires and Rhodey takes over as Iron Man.
Super alcoholic.
Yeah, there's no War Machine. Rhodey takes over as Iron Man. But like another thing with that though too, because I remember at the time, like everybody hated how they did the Mandarin as well though.
Right.
Because in the comics, he was supposed to be this full magical guy. Like you could do the actual Mandarin like they did with Shang-Chi, because at that point in time in your timeline, you've,
Right. But I love the Mandarin.
Oh, I did too.
In the Iron Man movie.
I thought it was hilarious because at that time you haven't done anything magical. Like you don't have that for your world. So what's the way to make it work like that? And I think it's hilarious.
Now, like we talked about last episode, having some distance from it and seeing 10 rings come out.
Yeah.
Now you realize, they were just setting up 10 rings from the very get-go.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
So I
want to see that wall where they plan all this stuff out,
I feel like it's multiple walls.
So much yarn.
Yeah.
So many little
pictures. You think it's multicolored or it's all the same color so they don't?
No, I think it's multicolored. Yeah, I think it's literally just newspaper clippings.
Do they have
Post-it notes?
Do they have like a key somewhere where you can go like this yarn color means this yarn color means that?
No, they have a guy.
Oh, they have a yarn guy.
They have a yarn guy.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good enough.
Yeah.
Well, then
He's colorblind though, which is weird.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I read about that.
I mean,
he can
good
tell
for
that
him.
he can tell the color by feel. Like
Sure.
apparently,
Sure.
some yarn is thicker than others.
No. You misread that. There's a guy named Phil who tells him the colors.
Oh, feels the color. Okay, my bad. I knew I should have reread that article when I was done.
Right.
I missed. But so there you go. Not necessarily as funny as usual, but Batman Year One, just more kind of informative. We still
It's
do
really
that
cool
from time to time.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
I mean,
I like learning about the Reaper. You know, when I look at this,
that looks really.
this
That's a really
picture-
cool picture of.
Well, it is a cool picture, but it looks like Spawn.
It does look a lot like Spawn.
Yeah, it's a lot of Spawny type looking stuff. So
Oh, you want to know why?
why?
I just thought of this. The last 2 issues of Year 2 are, I'm pretty sure, were drawn by Todd McFarlane.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So that could
He
be a little
loves
bit
his
wild.
chains.
Dude, he loves, it's the same way that he made Spider-Man's webs.
Yeah.
The spaghetti kind of web.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. He and and I've always loved the way that looked too.
Well, this was actually pretty fun. I liked it a lot.
So next week I'll find something for us to go back to just make fun of things because we haven't done that in a while.
Yeah.
So the next couple weeks we'll just find people's passion projects to ridicule because we're assholes.
Wiener Man.
Yeah, and because it's more fun that way.
Sure. This is cool though because
I think-
of the movies that are coming out
I
and all
think
that kind of
every
stuff.
now and then throwing in something that's a little more serious, that's something I actually like. Because, I liked Batman Year One from start to bottom. It wasn't too Frank Miller,
Yeah.
like where he got with like Master Race and all that bullshit he gets to later.
Right.
But it was still good. And I like seeing the development of that Batman Commissioner Gordon relationship, which is what is on kind of full display here. But don't worry, next week we'll go back to something funnier.
All right, cool. Well, I enjoyed it.
And Mike, as always, I appreciate you having you on and doing the show with you.
Yeah.
If you want to find us on Instagram, Bros Foes Heroes, email us, brosfoesandheroes@gmail.com. You can also follow Rogue Media.
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
And they're on Instagram as well. And if you haven't yet, there are multiple podcasts out there that Mike has been tirelessly working on. I know that he, promoted some of them last week.
I sat here yesterday by myself in this studio and I read 10 chapters of Peter Rabbit.
Really?
Just to myself, yeah.
How was that?
So when people ask you, what's wrong with that guy? There you go.
He reads Peter Rabbit
He
to
reads
himself.
Peter Rabbit to no one.
How long is Peter Rabbit?
I'm on chapter 14 right now. Yeah. But the chapters are small. I mean, to be fair, it's
But still, it's
a
perfect.
kid's story.
Yeah. I mean, let's all be honest. You listen to this podcast for the ridiculous content and Mike's smooth vocal stylings.
Oh, no.
And so now you can listen to him tell stories too. And it's kid friendly, so you don't have to worry about him dropping random F-bombs.
That's
here and
right.
there.
That's right. Just a few. Only if they're
But
they're
that
needed.
wasn't from you. That was from the Peter Rabbit book.
Yes, the
They were
original
in there,
Peter
yeah.
Rabbit story. Boy, it is just laden with expletives. It's crazy.
Oh man.
I hate these effing carrots. Stuff like that.
Make sure to check out everything that's going on up there. I'm laughing too much now. It's fun. I enjoy it. But appreciate you guys as always for listening. Until next week, everybody take care. Stay safe.
Calican!
Bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.